This is a game on Erlenberg Assault in the Charioteer, the Tier 8 British tank destroyer. It's a relatively fast tank. The gun control is a little bit sketchy. It has like the Centurion 7.1 gun on it, and the drawbacks to it is that it doesn't really have any armor. It's kind of tall, and the gun control is a little bit bad. It also has a really low amount of health for the tier. So in Assault, there's no, we don't really have a team goal other than to make sure that they don't cap out. So generally I'll go over to the east here if I get any support, particularly, so I'm in a relatively fragile tank destroyer, so I'd like to play it second line, but sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. The nice thing about the Charioteer is that it does have a little bit of mobility, so you can use it to relocate fairly quickly when you need to. And so we look at the split. Actually, most of our team is headed off to this east, which is fine. We've got a few of our guys headed to the west, so we have to see what we see here, what they see over here, and then make a decision about how aggressive we need to be and whatnot. So we have a couple of light tanks going up here. We have this Wheezy on this inside line, this T-71, which I think is going to go over. And that's pretty good. So what I'm looking for initially is to cover these guys from shots down here. We see that they send their STA-2 over the 0 line along with a Leopard. So I want to make sure that they can't get shot from this 9-line area. And then see, as this T-71 crosses up and starts to climb this hill in front of me, if he doesn't spawn anything there, that means there's really nothing there. So it's important to not sit back here and wait for shots that are never going to come. So go ahead and push up and make sure you can get shots in here. Their Chaffee is way on the inside of the east over there, so it's not that much of a concern.
It's a trap!
And our Wheezy is going in, and he lit the artillery. I was going to take a shot at the Chaffee, and then I figured out that the artillery was lit.
Gotcha!
And then, so we've basically cleaned up this side, and we knew that there wasn't going to be that much on that side. As soon as the T-71 crested over here, we knew that there wasn't going to be a whole lot on that side. We knew that, therefore, most of their tanks are going to be over here. The other artillery is probably in the southwest corner over there. And so it's important to get across over here, and you want to be able to do it before you lose your guys on this northwest area over here. So you can just cross over the center bridge if you do it carefully. And they basically have two distinct pockets, this forward one there, and then they have a southern one over by the church. We've got guys already across the south bridge, so not too worried about getting support from down that side. I just wanted to see if I can get over here to help these guys before they get pushed. And they don't really have anybody covering this center bridge area, right? We didn't see anybody high on these hills or anything like that. And there's nobody within this little area right here who can spot us, right? We already got the Cromwell up there. So push forward and see if we can start getting shots into the back of these guys. A little bit too late. Their other artillery is up, so it's important to know. And these guys have all started rounding that corner on the northwest, so it's going to be more difficult to get that. So there's an IS-6 and a Wheezy still on this side. The IS-6 is in an area where we can shoot him. The Wheezy is behind a little bridge on the other side, which is going to make it a little bit more difficult. We've already cleared off this south, but unfortunately we weren't able to save our guys on the north. It just took us a little bit too long to clear the other side and then get over here, which is unfortunate, but it happens. And so now they have sort of a free path to the cap, so I want to make sure that they can't just drive across here for free. We have a 3001D, but he's being 75, which means that these guys are going to be able to get shots on him fairly easily. I have support coming behind me, so I'm not too concerned about being pushed quite yet. Their tanks are still pretty spread apart. So they have a 112 that's one shot, they have a low there, the T-44 is over on that B3 area. I don't really have a shot on the low. This tank doesn't really have very good gun depression. And it turns out that their Wheezy headed out over to where their T-44 was. Okay, so that's going to make this, attacking through this 3 line a little bit more difficult because they essentially have it defended, but we know that they're not really pushing through, at least not yet. So I'm not going to stay here because this is not a good position for me. I'm not going to be able to get good shots, and I'm going to be vulnerable to them attacking. So blue is going to start relocating around this outside here, and I'm going to see if I can cover this cairn. I know that the IS-6 is still on this rock. It's a matter of what all these other tanks decide to do.
It's a trap!
And so their 1375 that was up in that northeast has come down here. But he's not in a very good position because we have literally tanks on every side of him. And they have one on cap, which is either the Wheezy or the T-44. I presume that the IS-6 is still there. This low is sort of peeking over a little bit.
It's a trap!
And so we beta shot from the IS-6. Our cairn is starting to push along this 3 line right here, which is still not necessarily that good of a play.
It's a trap!
The IS-6 behind the rock fired at me again, so I know that he's going to be reloading.
Enemy is hit.
This T-44 has pushed up to where the cairn is. The WZ-111 is going to be beyond my fire range. And so here's one thing that I don't like that I see often, not only in pubs, but also in organized play. See how this low is attacking into me? He's driving into me. And our cairn is down here on this 3 line fighting this T-44 and this 112. So it would be really easy for me to kill this low, just because he's slow and he's got to come across a little bit of an open plane. Even though I did bounce that first shot, I could kill him. That wouldn't be a problem. But what I really want to show here is that what I don't like is making 2 distinct confrontations. I don't like having a one-on-one of me versus a low and a basically 1v2 of this cairn versus this guy. What I want to be able to do is just make this low essentially irrelevant and make sure that this cairn stays alive, right? Because it's basically a 2-on-4 in this region right here. Their 112 is one shot, but their low still has a lot of health, and the IS-6 I've been sort of whittling down a little bit, but he's still got some health to go. But I don't want to create a situation where I'm 1v1 and then, you know, I'm on an island over here and this guy's on an island over here, and it's like, okay, I'll do my job and you do yours. That's not really how you win these types of situations. And what you should do, as the cairn takes out the T-44, which is fantastic, is I'll ignore this low, right? Because I'm faster than him, I'm more mobile, the terrain allows me to get around him, right? So I'll just leave the low, even though I know that I can kill him, and I'll go and make sure that our cairn doesn't get killed by the 112, by the IS-6 that just shot him, and whatnot. And so I'll get shot by the low here, but again, this is not a good position for me to be in, and again, it's a 1v1 against a low or a 1v1 with the cairn and the IS-6, or I can go and help this cairn, right, and take out this guy. And so in this time that this low has been driving around, all I've done is essentially ignore him, right? And that's allowed us to sort of pick off, I mean, they were basically one-shots, but that's allowed us to basically keep this cairn alive and minimize the effect of the low. So it doesn't really matter how good or bad of a player the low is. You know, if you make sure that you team up with guys that are close by, you know, you can use the terrain to your advantage to avoid confrontation, so to speak, or unnecessary confrontation. And then this is probably, for this tank, it's a little bit too tall to auto-aim into the back of a low, so that one bounced off the engine deck. And so essentially, there's a couple things about this map that I wanted to talk about. One was, I'm taking up a second line position here because I'm really in a second line tank. But as soon as I see that our light tank is right here and right here, right, and they haven't lit anybody right there, I don't sit back there and wait for something to happen. I push all the way up, and because I know that they don't really have anything committed heavily right here, at least as of that moment. And so that allows us to take out the STA that's over here, and we were able to clear the side off, right, because they only sent 4 tanks to this side, right? It was the STA-2, the Leopard, the artillery, and the Chaffee. Right? Those are the only 4 tanks on this side. And so you need to be able to crush that really quickly. You need to be able to recognize it and crush it quickly. And then basically you're down to this half of the map and figure out what to do here, right? We had a lot of defenses in the northwest. Well, not a lot, I'm gonna put a lot in air quotes. We had a few guys on the northwest defending that area. The majority of their tanks were on this west. We sent our faster tanks across this south bridge, which allowed us to cross the middle. They still had a couple of lagging tanks in the south here. We were able to take out the artillery. We pushed up through the middle, which allowed us to get to the backside of here. We didn't do it quite fast enough, so our northwest guys ended up dying against a superior force. And then it was just about playing smart and figuring out, okay, well, how do I defend the team goal? Try to lock these guys into this small area of map control that they have, and without throwing away health, because most of the tanks that we have left, I mean, the Charioteer is a relatively fragile tank, even at tier 8. It's not like some super heavily armored tank. It's not like the tanks that they have, the 112, IS-6, Wheezy 111, which all have, better armor layouts than the Karen. And then it's just about trading smart and looking for opportunities and sort of minimizing if they try to push and you can just run away. Just minimize that, keep your teammates alive, and just mop up in that sense. Okay, and so if we look at the stats, it's pretty much how you saw it play out. I mean, we ended up doing a ton of damage. Just a lot of that was because we were mobile and we were always on one edge. On the east, it was on the front edge. On the west, it was on the back edge. So we were always in positions where we were trying to nip at their heels, so to speak. And that goes a long way in terms of keeping your gun active. Even in a fragile tank, a tank with no armor and low health, you can be effective by pushing into those weak areas and looking to get shots. Let me think. I guess that's about it for Erlenberg and for the Charioteer. So I hope that was helpful, and thanks for watching.